Hey there, Purple Girl here. Today I wanted to share with you the flowers that I'm going to be growing for April. So these are things I'll be starting from seed or like corms, tubers, that type of thing in April. Most of these I'll be starting indoors in my grow room. Some will be out in my greenhouse, and a few will even be sown directly in the ground, weather permitting. So hopefully it's not too loud in here. I have a little pump going, trying to get some of the water. There's some water on the floor of my greenhouse from the snow melt. If you caught my video just a few days ago, we were covered in lots of snow, so it all just melted in like a day, so there's a lot of water laying here. So hopefully that pump isn't too loud. The month of April marks 2 to 6 weeks before my average last frost date, so there's a lot of flowers that can get sown in that time. And I'll start out in the first week, which is this week. I have a lot of seeds to put in the ground and the soil here. I'll be sowing my candy tuft, alyssum, my globe amaranth, my calendula, my pincushion flower or scabiosa, and maybe my bees friend. We'll see. I might hold that off for another week. There's a few here that can kind of go between that 4 to 6 weeks point, so we'll just see what all I get done. It's quite a bit for what's left in my week. The next week, like I said, will be maybe some of those flowers from the week before, if they didn't get quite done, and then marigolds, zinnias. I think I have like 6 varieties of zinnias to start. My crocosmia, acidanthera, and gladiolus will all get started. If the soil isn't soaking wet, waterlogged, but is workable, I'll be planting some of my gladiolus right in the ground, and I'll share that with you when the time comes. At 4 weeks before my average last frost date, I'll be sowing my cosmos, and I have 5 varieties of cosmos to sow. And then I'll also be sowing my spike amaranth. And then 3 weeks before my average last frost date, I'll be sowing poppies. I'll probably do a second sowing of gladiolus, larkspur, my firecracker vine, and my sweet peas will get started at that point. Then the last week in April, which is only a partial week, that'll be African daisies, sunflowers, and I'll start my flowering cabbage. And that will be started to have growing on. I'm going to try and experiment with that to grow it on, to have it for the fall. So it won't be outside growing over the summer, but I'm going to try and keep it cool enough and growing in the right conditions inside, so that I have a nice grouping of it that I can put out into pots in the fall. So that's what I'll do with flowering cabbage. So that's the flowers that I'm going to be getting started in April. So I have a whole list here on my seed chart here. The other thing I'm going to be trying to do today is these are the Berry Tart, I think they're called. Oh, Reggae Sunny. I don't know why I thought Berry Tart. Reggae Sunny Dahlias. And they're getting pretty big, and I think they're ready to come out of these trays here and get into some larger pots. And I think they'll start putting on more growth again. They're kind of stalled right now. So I'm going to be potting those up today, and I thought I would do that in this video as well. And then I'm going to be slowly trying to work on my petunias. I have 2 trays of petunias that look pretty much like this. They're out in my greenhouse now growing, and I'd like to get them bumped up into some larger pots as well, and then they'll just keep growing and getting bigger for me. But they're doing quite well. Pretty happy with them. There's a few really tiny stragglers, but for the most part they're looking great. I'm just going to turn the camera around and get over to my workbench, and we can get some of those dahlias potted up into some good potting soil out of their seed starting mix, get them some nutrients and more space to grow. Here's the dahlias that I want to be growing and bumping up here, and I'm just going to put them into these pots here. So these are just, as you can see, they're just pots that have had annuals purchased from like Walmart, I think, Superstore, somewhere like that. And I'm just going to be reusing them. I just have some potting mix here. I think this potting mix is called The Answer. I think that's the brand, and it's just from Costco. Now it's a little bit cool because it's been out in my greenhouse, so hopefully these plants don't shock. And I'm just going to use these little silicone trays actually, I probably don't even need that tool. They're pretty good. So really nice root system on there. Beautiful. Not overly full, but pretty full. It all pulled out in one piece. And like I said, the plants just seem like they're kind of stunted in their growth. So it's kind of time to grow them up. They're ready to have a more nutrient-filled soil. And I'm just going to set them in the pot like that, and they'll be happier like that. And I'll come in with just a little bit of this all-purpose Miracle Grow. It's just a slow release. I think this one's an organic. It just contains organic ingredients, it says. And just do a little sprinkle on top of the soil, and that way when they're watered, they'll get a little bit of extra nutrients slowly going in there. So these will be going back into my house, into my grow room. It's not warm enough yet to have them even in the greenhouse here, but that's what I'm going to be doing with these. So I think I have 18 of these plants to get potted up, and I'm meeting someone in about 20 minutes, so I need to get that done. So let's get these potted. And I'll probably have to go get more soil because I just have a little bit. The bag is in my garage, so just have a little bit in here from potting up anemones the other day. So I just give a little squeeze on the bottom of the silicone tray, and these just pop out of those trays. So nice. I've already made a little dent in the soil. Push it in. You can go a little deeper. I might even remove the seed leaves, and then I go even deeper with that. Get a really good start. Small sprinkling of fertilizer. When I take these in the house, I'll just put some water in the bottom of their tray and let them soak up the water that way. And I do have my labels, so I need to make sure I put a label on every one before I forget about them. So there's this one here. I broke it off. It wasn't quite as ready to be potted up as some of the others, but it does still have roots on it, so we'll just plunk it in there and I'm sure it'll be fine. But you do need to be careful when you're pulling them out. This one is kind of in the same situation, so I'll just try and lift it out with my lifter here. And it looks like one of the cells didn't actually have anything in it, so that's fine. We won't need to pot that one up, I guess. You saw there, I just sprinkled the fertilizer in all the pots once I had them full. Hopefully it's not too loud. I've turned the pump off, but there's a lot of action in the neighborhood. It's one of the first really beautiful days outside, and there's not even wind. And a lot of people are on holidays because it's the week after Easter. So they're home with their kids, getting some work done in their yards. So that one tray is done already. This isn't going to take me very long. I will need more soil for sure. So I'm going to go grab some more soil. You won't even notice that happening. And I'll be right back to pot up the last 9, and then I'll be on to my next thing of the day. Okay, so I got some more soil here. Bucket's all full again. And we'll just do this all over again. Now, I don't know, I was just thinking when I was getting the soil, I'm not sure I was clear. These are the dahlias that I started from seed back on March 11th. These are not the ones that I have been pre-sprouting the tubers of. But I do have a few have started to sprout on those tubers that I started last week, I think. So if I remember to get a shot of it, I'll put a little shot in here so you can see the little sprouts that are coming off of them. I think all of the tubers have some roots on them now that I'd started, but just a few have started to actually sprout. All right. This stuff smells like organic fertilizer. I'm not sure. It says it has kelp, earthworm castings, feather meal, and bone meal, and it smells like something like that. I'm not sure what they've added in here that's not organic, but all they're allowed to say on the label is contains organic, so there's something there that's making it, they're not quite regulated for pure organic labeling yet, but that's okay. Won't really hurt anything. Let's see, so some of these are a little bit on the smaller side. They're nice and compact plants. They're looking really good. So we don't want to break any of them, so maybe I'll be a little more careful, because I think some in this tray probably could have gone a little longer in this tray, but if I'm going to bump them up, I may as well just bump them all up and have it done. So when your plants need to be bumped up, you'll usually be able to tell, because you're probably going to have trouble keeping them watered enough. They'll be dried out all the time because their root space is going to be very full of roots. You might be having trouble keeping them growing nice and strong and healthy because they just don't have enough in nutrition, even if you're supplementing with a little bit of like water-soluble fertilizer or something, or granules on top. It might just not be enough. It's seed starting mix. They just lots of times don't have any nutrients in them, which is a good thing. But then the plant has used up everything it had from that little seed that it was growing in, and it just needs more nutrients. So you'll see like stunted growth. So that's kind of what I look at. If it's filled the whole container with roots and you're having trouble keeping it watered to the amount that it needs to be watered, and its growth is stunted, or if they're in a tray like this, maybe they're all just so big, even if the root space isn't filled, some of these plants were getting so large that they were starting to shade out the smaller plants that maybe germinated a day or two before or were just a little bit behind for some reason. So then if you bump them up, that just gives everybody their own space. You need a better air circulation, and they'll have more room to, take in the nutrients from the water or the fertilizer that you give them. They'll be able to stay at a nice, happy medium of moisture for longer. Oh, that one. The soil really pushed down in it. Lift that up a bit. There, so that was 17, I guess, not 18, because I have that one empty cell, but all my dahlias are planted up. I'm just going to write up some tags so they're all labeled so that I don't wind up separating them and losing track of what I have here, and get them back in my house under grow lights, watered in from the bottom, and they'll all be done. Thanks for coming to hang out with me in my greenhouse for a few minutes today while I potted up my dahlias and shared with you my plans for planting flowers for the month of April. I hope your gardening plans are going just as you want and you're able to get a few things started, or maybe you're in a warmer climate than me. I'm in Saskatchewan, Canada. I don't think I mentioned that. Maybe you already have things growing outside, blooming and looking beautiful. Right now, we're pretty muddy still, but it's coming and spring is in the air. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.